Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Shane, and today's video is gonna kind of just be a chit chat, very casual sort of video. I really wanted to wait to sit down and film this until after all my Puerto Rico vlogs have gone live. I think vlog 510 was the last Puerto Rico vlog, and there was only so much that I was able to actually show you guys about my experience on there. So I just wanted to sit down today and maybe talk about a few things that I didn't show. The heck, every time I film, there are noises. Because this is my video. There was a lot that maybe I showed and I didn't explain, but there was a lot of differences between the states and Puerto Rico. Even though Puerto Rico is technically, hi bud. Even though Puerto Rico is technically, you know, part of the United States, there were many differences that I noticed personally. I live in New England, and I just feel like Puerto Rico still has like their small government, so it's much more laid back. So I wrote a list as I was up while I was on vacation. I kept track of all the different things that I noticed that were different, and I felt like this cat, I felt like would be interesting to talk about. So that's what today's video is going to be about. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that I noticed was there were no plastic bags. So if you went to the supermarket, we didn't go to a mall at any point. Why are you eating? My cat's chewing on my back. We never went to a mall because when I was on vacation, I wanted to do more stuff that I couldn't at home. You know what I mean? Any day of the week I can go to the mall here. So we really tried avoiding doing stuff like that, but we did have to go to the supermarket. At one point, I ran out of like pull-ups for Ella's nap time. Of course, we had to like get a little bit of food to be good for the week that we were there, which ended up turning into like a week and a half. That's a whole another story. So when we were there, you would literally, like, we would go into Walmart, you would fill up your carriage, and if you didn't bring your own like reusable bags, you walked out of the store with a cart full of loose items. And to me, I found it like, you know, I'm gonna be an honest person, but I'm like, anybody could shoplift so easily, because even though they had like security at the walking out, and of course if you did like self-checkout, they have the personal surveillance cameras as well. But I felt like, you know, if you walk out with a cart full of groceries and give the person a long list of receipts, I don't think they're gonna check for every single item or make sure every item in your cart is on that receipt. So that was one of the main things that I found here, because like, I don't know what's up my Walmart's butt, but they are on like breathing down your neck at self-checkout. He's walking by again, so if you see a tail, my cat's just hanging out with me, and this little hair is going everywhere too. They breathe down your neck. I mean, they make sure every little thing in your carriage has been rung through properly and is in a bag. And I get what they're doing. They're trying to prevent shoplifting. But what I don't like about it here is that like they make you feel like a criminal even though you're not doing anything wrong. I don't know if anybody else is like that, but I'll just get like super nervous if somebody's assuming I'm stealing or like assuming that I'm doing something wrong, even when I'm not. I get like it's so incredibly uncomfortable to me. So that's one thing that I noticed that was a huge difference. I read into the whole no plastic bag thing, and if you followed my vlogs, I also mentioned it in an earlier Puerto Rico vlog, but it was just a way to try to help basically preserve the island. If you're not familiar with Puerto Rico, it's like right next to the Dominican Republic, all those islands, you know what I mean? So I thought the cause was really cool. It was just definitely something that I noticed a huge difference with, because I go to the supermarket and I don't have to pay for my bags either. I know that California, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you guys get charged for your bags. Like, I don't know how much it would be, but here our bags are still readily available. However, actually, it's funny that we're talking about this, because I live in New Hampshire, but I work in Massachusetts. So my, you know, job and then my personal home life is a little bit different when it comes to like taxes and stuff like that. But we actually just switched to not using plastic bags at work in Massachusetts. I don't think it's like a full Massachusetts thing, but I know at least the city that I work in, they like banned plastic bags. So the paper bags are annoying as anything, but again, it's for a really good cause, so I do completely understand it. People just kind of have a hard time adjusting to change. Wow, we are, that was like one thing and I'm already at what, 6 minutes? Holy smokes. Headlights smashed out, windshields. Okay, so the reason that I put this was like every other car either had a headlight or a brake light out. I think there were 2 or 3 cars that we saw that didn't have brake lights at all within my week and a half stay. And there was one, it was kind of an older car too. I think it was maybe a Corvette, some sort of Corvette, but it had just a completely smashed windshield and the guy was still driving, and I'm like, here, like, tell me if any of this like relates to you guys, if you know what I'm talking about, but like here, you couldn't get out of your driveway without brake lights or headlights. Like the cops here are very, very up your butt about everything, and I mean that in the most loving way, because I know a lot of you are wives to law enforcement, so I'm not saying like they're bad people for doing their job. I'm just saying you would not get away with that here, and I've learned my lesson from that, and I'm very on top of trying to maintain my car. I don't like getting pulled over whatsoever, but I noticed down there, it wasn't, like I said, like 1 or 2 cars, like it was a constant thing that I saw throughout the week. So I don't quite know how much they actually care about that, you know what I mean? Like obviously the smashed windshield one, even I was like, that's a little bit dangerous, but you know, in the brake lights too, if you have none, of course, but like the one headlight out or whatever, I don't know how strict they actually are to enforce that rule. Speaking of law enforcement, I wrote no police. I maybe saw like 3 cop cars at the most throughout our stay there, except for one particular day, and the only reason that this particular day I saw a lot of cops was because they had like the festival of the calf going on. It was massive. Like we didn't end up going because we had my daughter and it seemed like a lot of like college age kids, but you know, I had my mom and my daughter there, so we were not interested in going to that festival. But like just driving, there was no cops anywhere, and then here, you know, I drive 5 minutes down the road and I'm gonna pass at least 3. So I thought that was a bit crazy too, how it really just seemed like everybody was sort of left alone, and I actually really liked that. No one was really in a rush down there as well. Again, I was born and raised in New England. I'm still living in New England, so we kind of have that like fast pace, like we drive fast, we talk fast, we do everything fast, and to me personally, I would really like to slow it down, and I try slowing it down. My daughter had a sweater on going to take a nap and she wanted to take it off and needed help, so I was just helping with that. I have the monitor right here. I see my beautiful baby. She's playing when she should be napping. Okay, so where the heck was I? I apologize. Oh, no one was in a rush. Okay, so I was in the middle of saying that you know, personally, I would definitely like to slow it down. Like, I'm a fast driver and I don't mean to be, but if I'm in the passing lane and like somebody's right on my butt, I'm very like, I feel that pressure, you know what I mean? And I, you know, only go so fast because I have my kid in the car and I'm not gonna put her in danger for some idiot behind me. But it just kind of seemed like everybody was just like, it's all right, it's okay. Like it was really nice. And one other thing about people not being in a rush, this was really interesting to me. Sundays, like Walmart doesn't open until 12 o'clock. Can you imagine what that would look like here? Like I'm just imagining if Walmart was like, yeah, you know what guys, like we're not gonna open till 12. I heard my mom was telling me that you're able to go into Walmart and like start browsing and shopping and adding stuff to your carriage, but you cannot check out until 12 o'clock. That's crazy to me. I kind of like it though. Stray dogs, horses, and big bugs. We're gonna talk about this for a minute. Now there are dogs everywhere in Puerto Rico. I feel like they kind of got the population a little bit under control, because I know when I went there for the first time 5 years ago when I was pregnant with my daughter, there were dogs, like, we live up on a mountain, so like it's constant, you know, turns and twists. Every corner you would go around, there'd be like a dog lying in the street, like getting warm, you know what I mean? But we did see like a lot of roadkill. Like I saw so many dead cats. Like I've never seen so many dead cats in my entire life. I don't think I've ever seen a dead cat, to be honest with you. But I saw at least 2 on the side of the road, and then there were a ton of dead iguanas. Like, it was a little intense. And then horses, like wild horses, would be walking down the street, or like, again, we live up on the mountain, so you'd see horses all the time. And then the bugs are ridiculous. I was really grateful to be home. This was one thing that I did not miss at all, but like our house would constantly have ants. I mean, like carpets of ants, and I'd be sweeping them out the door. You know, we're only there so often throughout the year. I should say my parents are there because I really don't go. But you know, if they lived there year round, they could definitely get like a yeah, sure, and have it a little more under control. But because we only go there so often, like, it's not like crazy. They kind of stay in one place, but that really bothered me, especially the first couple of days. And then they have centipedes there. Every time I go, I see a centipede, and I am actually terrified of them. I am terrified of worms, and I'm terrified of anything that looks like worms, except for snakes. I love snakes, but worms, creepy, crawly, slimy, ugh, like all the legs, I just can't. I can't. You guys saw in one of the vlogs as well, me coming across a centipede too, and that was not fun. And then the bugs, like those spiders, are ridiculous. Like, they are massive. So that was one thing that was like, yeah, I could do without that. Okay, let's see. Go on red lights, no street lights, and guardrails on the mountain. So once again, we live up on a mountain, but you'd be surprised how little guardrail like there actually were to prevent you from driving off the mountain. Literally, you took a turn too fast, like you'd be going off the edge. I found that very strange. And then sometimes when we would drive home later at night, there were like no street lights on the mountain either. So not only did you have to be careful not to just drive off a cliff, but you also couldn't see where you were going. And then there were also dogs in the road. So it was really interesting. But like, I know that, you know, here in the States, I feel like we're so, like, I don't want to use the word babied, but I can't really think of a similar or a better word for it. But like, we are so tried to keep so safe that there's almost no, like, they try to prevent danger at every turn, where Puerto Rico is kind of like, fend for yourself. We're not going to put up a guardrail, but don't be driving like an idiot and you won't go off the side of the road. You know what I mean? Like, here, they would put a guardrail because people drive like idiots here, and we drive fast here. So I thought that was really interesting. And then the whole go on red lights. If you come up to a red light, and let's say it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, you stop at the red light, you take a look, nobody's coming, you can go legally through that red light. It's kind of like it takes over like a stop sign at that point. There were a couple times where, especially when we were traveling to and from the house, that it was so late at night and we would get to a red light, stop, and then kind of look both directions and go. Obviously, you have to be really smart about it. You can't cut someone off or anything, you'll get in trouble, but I do like that concept. But at the same time, I feel like if that was here, or like became a thing here, people would just kind of take advantage of it and cause more problems than it would actually do good. I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but I couldn't see that going too well here. There were also a lot of bars on the side of the road, like, not like there's a building that's a bar, like it'd be a table outside, being served outside with a bar, and there were a ton of them. There were so many of them. And it was so weird because you'd be like climbing up the mountain and then you come across a bar and they'd be busy. I mean, like, they weren't like isolated up on a mountain in the middle of nowhere in Puerto Rico bar. Like, it was hopping some nights. So I thought that was a bit, it's like, okay. Like, public drinking is not a big deal in Puerto Rico. When we were on the beach, we saw people drinking all the time. But the thing is, like, nobody was being an idiot. Nobody was like getting purposely drunk and stupid. Like, public drinking was a thing, but people were responsible with it. Can't see that happening here. A lot of the houses there are built out of cement, and I love the looks of some of the Puerto Rican houses. Just their designs are amazing, and I really liked the idea of the cement. And they do the cement houses for two reasons. A, for hurricane season, and we saw a lot of destruction from Hurricane Maria still. A lot of the roads were like, a part of the road was taken out, or it wasn't really debris or anything like that was closed down, but I think there was some still closed roads and everything. So for hurricanes, to keep their houses up. And then it gets so hot there. We were there in January and it was 85, so their summers are like broiling. So they have the cement houses to keep the houses cool as well in the summertime. We did end up going to a Burger King at one point. They had like a play place, so we were gonna let my daughter play. And one of the things I noticed that was different from here to there was they had no like condiment station. If you go into like a Burger King, you would normally, you know, get your food and then go and get your drink out of the fountain, and then you'd like grab your ketchup, your napkins, if you needed a fork for whatever. But they didn't have that here. Like, they gave you everything. And at one point I needed another spoon because I ordered like a small ice cream, and they didn't speak, like, the woman that I spoke to spoke very little English. So I was like, I showed her the spoon. I'm like, another one. Like, it was really hard to communicate sometimes, but everybody was pretty understanding, and like they really kind of, you know, helped me. But that was one thing I thought was really interesting, that you kind of had to ask for everything. And I don't know if that's just like kind of a common courtesy thing, because I know people take a lot more than they need, especially with like ketchup packets. They'll just grab a handful if they have one burger, you know. So I don't quite know the reason behind that, but I thought it was interesting and something I wanted to mention. This probably should have been, this wasn't in any particular order, so it's sort of all over the place, and I do apologize for this. But the next couple things we're kind of talking about animals. Again, we're talking about roosters, crabs, and iguanas. Roosters, if you've never owned a rooster, or if you've never lived on a farm or never lived near somebody who lived on a farm, you might assume that roosters only crow in the morning. I grew up with chickens almost my entire life, since about like, I don't know, I was in 5th grade, so like, what is that, 12 years old maybe? No, that's younger than that, because you go into high school at 15, 14? So it was what, 10? I don't know. I was really young when we started caring for chickens and everything, and roosters crow all day, every day. So literally at like 1 in the morning, you would hear the roosters start going, and they wouldn't stop, ever. Like, they're still crowing right now. The crabs on the beach, I got a very quick clip in one of my vlogs. I actually think it was called Mr. Krabs, if you want to check it out. But they were so flippin' cute. There were so many crabs on the beach, but they wouldn't like come out and bother you. They were buried, like they were digging holes, and they would come out with like a claw full of sand in one hand, come out, and if you were near them, they would look at you, and they would like look at you for a while and then throw it real quick, and then look at you, and then go back into their hole. It was so funny. For like a good 20 minutes, this one cab kept me so entertained just watching them kind of go back and forth. So that was a lot of fun. And then the iguanas, again, you would see iguanas like everywhere. You would see them running down the highway. The time that I saw like all the dead iguanas, we were walking through a park near San Juan, and I don't know like what killed all these iguanas, but I'm telling you, I almost stepped on like 3 of them. It was kind of crazy, but yeah, you saw them everywhere. And iguanas are super afraid of people, so they're not gonna like come and get you, and they're vegetarian, so no worries there. We did see a lot of like the little lizards as well. I like those ones though. We're gonna talk about cars again for just a second. So I explained that you can go if you stop at a red light and nobody's coming. The yellow lights, like If you think you're gonna be a yellow light, you are mistaken. Puerto Rican yellow lights are the fastest thing ever. I know, you know, up here in New England and probably most of other states in America, when your light turns from green to yellow, there's usually like a 5-second window, maybe not 5 second, but like 3 to 5 second window between yellow and red. So that's when most people will speed up and try to beat the red light. But Puerto Rico, like, it was so quick. Like, if you were out there on yellow, you were out there on red. Like, it was like a second or less. I was like, are you, like, even my mom and I were like, that turned so fast. Like, what do you mean by ran a red light? It just turned yellow when we passed over the line, and then it was red. Like, it was crazy how quickly their lights changed. And then the last thing that I had written down, and I thought this was really cool, but everybody tells you to enjoy your meal. So we ate out a lot. Of course, you know, Puerto Rico has beautiful weather, so a lot of their stuff is outside. I remember this particular day where I jotted down this note. We were again in Old San Juan. We were right near where they park cruise ships and everything. They have kind of like a boardwalk. It's where I got the henna done and everything. But they had this one restaurant and we ate outside, and you just have people walking by, and I don't know how to say in Spanish, but they would walk by and say, enjoy your food. And I kept noticing this happen like day after day, and then eventually when we were in Old San Juan at that restaurant, I'm like, Mom, like, why, what do people say? Because every time we're outside eating, they'll come up and like say something, but it's not a conversation starter. They like say it and then walk away, and then my mom would say gracias. So I'm like, what are you thanking them for? Like, what did they say? And they're just telling you to enjoy your food. And I just like, I don't know, like, I feel like if I walked into a Starbucks and told somebody like enjoy their coffee, like I'd get punched in the face. Like, yeah, it just kind of, I don't know, like, it encourages you to like talk to strangers, and like, I don't know, it was just such a cool thing, and like everybody did it. So it wasn't just like this weird little thing that like nice people would do. It was like a thing, and I thought it was so cool. Overall, I really enjoyed my trip to Puerto Rico. I definitely wish I had, you know, had my husband down there. I really missed him. But it was really cool to explore more of my culture. I am half Puerto Rican, so that's kind of the side of me that I relate to the most. The rest of me is a very wide mix of European. I'm Lithuanian, French, Italian, and Polish. But those nationalities I don't really relate to as much. Whereas like on my mom's side, it is probably just because I'm closer to my family on my mom's side, and they're like, you know, all full Puerto Rican, and my grandmother is like super Puerto Rican and stuff. They will speak Spanish. So this is the side that I definitely relate to the most. And it was really lovely to go down, and like almost every stranger was just like super nice. Like I never really ran into somebody who's really rude, where that's really common here, you know. Driving was a little, like, it wasn't much different than it was up here. People were still kind of speeding. You know, people definitely took their time. Like, you'd have the Sunday drivers that took forever, but then you'd have, like, the young kids who drove like idiots. So that's everywhere, though, you know what I mean? But, like, overall, everybody was super friendly and super helpful and like wanting to help you, even though I was clearly a tourist, because I told everyone no habla español. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. And again, I really liked the government not being tucked so far up your butt. I really enjoyed that. Just the atmosphere, and it was a really friendly and happy place, and I can't wait to go back. I know that when I was going down, there was a lot of concern from you guys and from people in my personal life, where they're like, oh, don't go to Puerto Rico, like there's so much crime, you can't leave your hotel. And it's like, I live 30 minutes outside of Boston. Like, anywhere you go, any city that you go, there's gonna be crime and there's gonna be danger. You just gotta be smart about it. So, you know, if you want to go down to Puerto Rico, everybody's like, oh my gosh, like you need to stay in your hotel, you need to stay on your cruise ship, like, no, mommy, you're gonna be missing out on so much. So much good food, so much good hospitality, and I absolutely loved it. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's kind of chit-chatty video. I'm excited that I was able to sit down and talk about some of the things that I wasn't really able to elaborate with on my vlogs, and I really loved my vacation. Now, I don't have any near sights of vacations coming up. I think the most exciting thing that's coming up for me is in March, when I get to see the trailer finally released for the video that I drove down to, or the movie that I drove down to Georgia a couple years ago. That's coming out at the end of March. But other than that, there is no plans in my future at the moment, but that doesn't mean that I can't make any. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please go ahead, leave a thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss any new videos, hit that subscribe button down below, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!